if the customer has a very beautiful plan, then they're going to fall in love with it. Like Taylor, he draws the vision and then I have to execute it. So if he makes something very beautiful and she's like, "Oh, I love it. Oh, this is amazing." Then we'll do it. And people fall in love with what they see, especially women. Women were like, "Oh, wow. I love this. I can imagine me hanging out with my kids, my girlfriends, drinking margaritas, hanging around the pool." And I have to do that, but Taylor has to draw it.
I'll give you a story of a customer that I have right now. Last month, so I'm working on this design. It's the one in Los Gatos. This
Mhm.
is a huge design. It's like over $1 million budget. And they texted me a video of them in their living room, and they had cast the design I just sent to them onto their living room TV, and the whole family is there in this video. The kids, the grandparents, the dog. They're pointing, laughing, interacting with it, and when they sent me that, it kinda clicked for me that it's not just a yard, it's so much more than that. It's their lives, it's the memories they're gonna make, and so, more than the design, it's the process and the time I spend with them. It's the time I'm spending getting to know them, they're getting to know me, and so, when they're ready and the design's done, even if they get other bids, if I did a good job building that relationship with them, chances are they'll still come back to work with us on the install, even if the other guy is maybe lower priced lower. So, I think it's really peace of mind that people value more than, just cost alone.
This episode is brought to you by Hardscaper.com. The Hardscaper mission is to empower industry professionals with the skills, inspiration, and confidence they need to take their businesses to new heights. Struggling with training programs for your team? Looking for helpful tips to build a better company? Subscribe today to gain access to hours of interactive on-demand hardscape construction and business courses for free. Check out hardscaper.com. You're listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. All right, guys, good afternoon. How's everyone doing? Good. All right. So my name's Alex. I'm the Director of Business-to-Business Marketing at TechnoBlock. I work together with Pete, putting together these shows and everything. Educational content is very important to us. We really focus on helping contractors grow their businesses, elevate their game, and hopefully make more money in the process. So today we're going to record a live episode of our podcast, the Hardscape Growth Podcast. We have a returning guest, Tigran from Applewood Landscapes.
Yeah.
He was on the show a couple weeks ago. We had great responses, great feedback. So he's back.
Thank you, thank you, thank
And he's running a business locally here, and he's been using Techo a little bit for the last couple of years. So figured why not get him on the show. And we have Taylor Young, who is a landscape designer who works with Tigran, also does some work independently. And we're going to talk about the role of landscape design and how that has impacted Tigran, your business, and just some of the things that you see in terms of how it adds value to the consumer, how it adds value to the crews having to build it, how it adds value to you as an owner and as a business, and from your perspective, what that does.
Yeah, sure.
Cool. And we'll open it up to questions too. So we'll run through this for about half an hour. And then if you guys have questions, you just yell them out. I'll repeat them into the mic so we can record them, and then they'll answer them. Sounds good?
Cool.
All right. Okay. So getting started here, the first thing is we're talking about design. And I think when you look at the industry and you look at what people define as design, you get a lot of different definitions because some people just do it on a piece of paper and they sketch it out. Some people do a full 3D render with things like Lumion, and it's like practically going into a video game demo for the consumer. So in your eyes, I guess I'll start with you, Taylor. In your eyes, what is landscape design? What are the key components to landscape design presenting to a customer? What's it doing?
Yeah, and just like you said, there's all sorts of different ways to do it, but the design really is the vision of it's like the storytelling of landscaping. And so there's all different ways to spin it. You see those fancy 3D renderings online, you see these pretty pictures people make, but I'd say the most important part about it is not actually the design. I think everybody focuses on these like 3D renderings, but more importantly than everything, it's a plan, right? It's a plan for the customer to get on the same page. It's a plan for Tigran and contractors to know what materials they're going to order, the timelines of everything. And so I think a good, clear, and concise plan is what's really going to affect the business in the most meaningful way.
Like spoken like a true designer. Tigran, what's design for you?
Well, it's just organizing the job better because a lot of times we start a job and okay, I'll give you an example of back in the day. Back in the day before I had Taylor or designer, we would start a job and Sometimes the homeowner would be home and sometimes they wouldn't. If they're home, I'm lucky because I can go knock on, Mrs. Jones, what do you think about this? Oh, that's good. I want it here. Go 10 feet that way. Okay, great. We do that. But sometimes they're not home and they're working at like Apple, Google, Microsoft, whatever. And then they come home at 3, 4 o'clock and they're like, well, dude, this is not what I wanted. I wanted the pavers over here. And I said, well, that's not what we had discussed, Mrs. Jones. But now having a design prevents all that because everything is on the plan. It's to scale. We just follow the map. It's like a treasure map that you just have to follow.
So organizing a job better, also a key to communication between the office, the crew, and the client, keeps everyone on the same page, literally.
Yes.
That's the plan.
And if you don't have a design, it'll actually cost you more money and wasted labor than if you were to have a design. And to be honest, saving the homeowner a couple $1,000 and me wasting a couple $1,000 is not ideal.
So give me an example where that was very obvious to you in the beginning.
So in the beginning, I kind of used to take jobs on that I shouldn't have took, but I just wanted to work. I was like, I'll do anything. I'll clean your toilet. It's all good. I'll do anything. And I used to take the jobs, and the homeowner would be like, no, I know this is the secret. I know exactly what I want. I don't want to design. And I'm like, oh shit, this lady's gonna be very hard to work with. So I still did the job anyway, and every single time I was right. I'm like, damn it, I shouldn't have took it. If they know exactly what they want, then they have to have it on a piece of paper and give it to me to scale. Then I'll do it. But if they know what they want in their head and they want me to do it, it's not ideal. It's going to be very costly for me.
Mhm. Too much uncertainty, too many variables you don't control, and that erodes your profit at the end
And
of
then I
the
have
day.
to babysit the guys.
Yeah.
That's not ideal too, because you got stuff to do. Maybe a new customer calls, you got to go get some new money.
Yeah, that's true. If you have to wing the whole thing, then
Yeah.
you have to stay there.
Yeah.
It's a great point. Um, how does design help you sell the jobs?
Well, so if the customer has a very beautiful plan, then they're gonna fall in love with it. Like Taylor, he draws the vision, and then I have to execute it. So if he makes something very beautiful, and she's like, "Oh, I love it. Oh, this is amazing," then we'll do it. And people fall in love with what they see, especially women. Women were like, "Oh, wow, I love this. I can imagine me hanging out with my kids, my girlfriends, drinking margaritas, hanging around the pool," and I have to do that. But Taylor has to draw it.
I'll give you a story of a customer that I have right now. Last month, so I'm working on this design. It's the one in Los Gatos. This is a huge design. It's like over $1 million budget. And they texted me a video of them in their living room, and they had cast the design I just sent to them onto their living room TV. And the whole family is there in this video. The kids, the grandparents, the dog. They're pointing, laughing, interacting with it. And when they sent me that, it kind of clicked for me that it's not just a yard. It's so much more than that. It's their lives. It's the memories they're going to make. And so, more than the design, it's the process and the time I spend with them. It's the time I'm spending getting to know them. They're getting to know me. And so, when they're ready and the design's done, even if they get other bids, if I did a good job building that relationship with them, chances are they'll still come back to work with us on the install, even if the other guy is maybe lower, priced lower. So I think it's really peace of mind that people value more than, just cost alone.
Well, I think there's a very good point that you just made there, because even at the start of the show, we had Pete talking about the impact of the different factors that lead to a consumer choosing a contractor. And the
Right.
top three were trust and confidence in the contractor's ability. The
Yep.
second one was understanding of needs. So, how you communicate back and forth and how you translate that into number three, which is design.
Yep.
Number 10 on the list of 10 is price. So you just gave a
No.
perfect example, because you're building the relationship, you're establishing that trust, you're collecting what they need, you're turning it into something valuable for them. And I think one of the big keys with what you both just said is, by involving a designer, that homeowner has to invest more time with you. So if they're investing more time with you, they're building more trust with you, and they're that much more confident in just going with you instead of going with someone else.
100%. Yeah.
So I think you both are right on the money. On speaking of money, do designs impact the discussion of budget with the customer, and how do you address that? Because customers typically, at least in my experience, they have a very low number in mind compared to what the reality will actually be. How do you address that in early on in the conversation, just as your business? And then when does design come into that to paint a clearer picture of, like, really, it's not going to be 250,000, it's going to be 350,000 with what you're asking for.
every time that we do a job, I'm sure Taylor will talk about this, but like they say, okay, we'll do 200,000 budget, and then he'll design it, and then the lady will be like, no, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, and then what are you gonna do? She says she wants it, and then when they get the price, they're like, oh shit, maybe not. So he has to deal with that a lot.
Yeah. And so, yeah, a lot of things will get added on because of the emotional aspect of it throughout the design. They'll see a kitchen that now they can't live without because they see it in the design for the first time. And now they've managed to scrounge an extra 50K somewhere out of their bank or sell off stock. But in the very beginning, you get a lot of different customers. Some people are they're calling me for the first time and they have no idea what their budget is. They don't know what a kitchen costs. They don't know what a pergola costs. They don't know anything. So I'm kind of like the first point of contact besides our office admin. And so my job is to kind of illustrate what things generally will cost and if their idea in their head is realistic or not. So that first call is just getting them on track. And I try to give them a range. Are you more in the 20 to 50K range? Are you more in the 100 to 200K range? Without pressuring them to give me a specific number. And that'll allow them to I'll be able to gauge where they're at. Then during the design process, if it works out that they're a good fit and they end up working with me, I am working with them to either design within a specific budget and not go over that, or I give them all the bells and whistles they want that they talk to me about, give them a number, and then we narrow that down based on priority.
So do they understand what they can do with the number before you start that conversation? Like they say, I have an envelope of 250,000 to put on it.
Yeah.
Just to pick that number. Do they understand what I can actually realistically get for 250?
That's my goal in the first phone call I have with them within that 10 to 20-minute call is to tell them that, I mean, if there's a pool involved, for example, in the Bay Area pool, you probably need 150 minimum
Just to put the pool in.
just to put pool in. So like if you're doing a pool, I'd probably say it's not realistic if you want to do the full property. But in that first conversation, I'm giving a very clear expectation and that will kind of direct where the conversation goes afterwards.
Okay, I want to hit another topic tied to money and designs. Do you charge for designs?
Absolutely. I think everybody should charge for designs, contractors, freelancers, everybody. I think
How much was your first design that you charged?
with you or in general?
With you, with you.
Me?
Yeah.
My first designs I did for free. So I actually didn't charge initially. And that's the
You were
charge
just a
yourself.
designer.
I was a nobody. I didn't realize
yourself.
I charged myself time. But what I got was portfolio building. I got experience and not knowing anything about this industry, I think that's the only exception just to get reps in, to get some work in. And that way you can actually pitch it to another customer and charge them a few $100.
Do you charge and then discount off the final price, or is it's a product that you sold? You sold the design and now you'll sell the build.
So in terms of the install, does it get credited towards the build?
Yeah, because a lot of people do that.
Mhm.
And I don't know if I agree with that either.
Yeah, well, with Applewood, because I do some projects outside of Applewood.
We do it.
Yeah.
Air quotes, we credit.
Credit, yeah.
And there's a cap on it too.
Okay.
So like, if I'm doing a design that's 10 grand, there might be a cap and that might just be the deposit that they paid. So they'll get like 5 grand off on the total install.
Okay. But it is accounted for when you're figuring out the price of the job, that those design hours are fully recovered. They're not actually discounted. They're just built into your pricing.
Yeah.
Do you have that factored in as part of your overhead, or do you have that as like a production cost?
No, so Taylor gets that, and then
I'll let them know.
yeah. He says how much the design was for.
Okay. And then
So
you'll
I-
work it into the
Sprinkle some. Imagine.
you spread it around.
Yeah.
Okay. And have you found that having Taylor involved in the design process and involved with the clients early on has given you a competitive edge in the market?
Yeah, because it's like the whole process, the design and the construction company speak to each other, and then the homeowner doesn't have to be so involved. There was one guy that we did. It was a 2022. He had a design that was made by Taylor, and he just let Taylor do anything.
Yeah.
It was the olive tree, big olive tree.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Unlimited budget premium.
Yeah, and the guy just sold this company for like, I don't know, whatever, 20, 30, 40, $50 million. I think.
No, it was like half a bill.
Oh, okay, have a
Yeah.
All right.
And he kind of just let Taylor do whatever, and he was very hands off, which I loved. And every time a customer's super hands off, the project always goes perfect. When a customer's like too involved and nitpicking about everything, that's when things go wrong.
So that competitive edge, though,
Yeah.
it looks like what? Like because the customer,
One-stop shop.
it's a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Do you notice a difference though?
Yeah.
Like before it was What was the process before, I guess, is the question.
Well,
Like,
before I was referring out other designers in my area. I would
yeah.
say, "Oh yeah, this lady Kim, she does really good designs. You can hire her." And then they hire her, and then 3, 4 months down the road, they forget about me, and then they hire someone else.
So I think that's the big thing is they leave your
Yeah,
ecosystem. They go deal with another business owner
yeah.
who may or may not prioritize them,
Mhm.
who may or may not swing them back to you either. And you lose sight of the relationship for they basically go into a black box for a period of time and then they pop back out, hopefully with something you can build that fits what you were planning on doing in the first place.
Yeah,
So that's the real advantage. Everything, like you said, one stop shop and
true.
deal with me and all the value is there.
Yep.
Okay, cool. What about material choices? How do you approach the selection of materials? I was with you last week. We visited a couple different projects.
Yep.
You're talking about how sometimes you use Teco and sometimes their customer opts for something else because they're trying to save a bit of money.
Yeah.
How does that play a role in the material process on the design side? And then how often do things have to get kind of value engineered once you've presented the design and now you got to bid it and you're a little bit over what they're willing to spend?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just start with the second one because it's almost every single time, unless they have an unlimited budget,
Yeah.
that the material choice comes in as a factor to value engineer. Because a difference in pavers for something that is a huge paver patio, like 3,000 square feet, could be a difference of 30, 40, 50K. If we're talking Teco block porcelain or like your generic local paver. So we, generally design the project first, like the spacing of everything, where everything goes. And the materials are the last thing to get picked. And they tend to trust me with my choices. And when I first started, this is what I changed now. When I first started, I would give them like 3 catalogs. I give them like a Techo Block catalog, Bellegarde, whatever. And I would say, just tell me what you like.
Pick your
And
paver.
yeah, pick your paver. And it wasn't ideal. Now I think there's a little bit more trust. I'm a little more confident. And I tell them like Techo Block Blue 80, this will look sick in your backyard. And they trust me. As long as the price point is there and it's within budget, they usually trust me on that.
And then do you see a difference? Like, do you end up once the design is presented to the client, they're like, "Yeah, I love it." Then do you end up having to cut in other places, or if he got the product spec, it's going to go with that?
Well, now that you guys have the little shop in Turlock, where's that?
Yeah, the depot in Turlock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, the
yeah,
little
with
depot
stock
in
on the
Turlock, but
ground.
now the prices have gone down very competitive to, other brands. I think that saving 4 grand on 1,000 square feet is not ideal, and you might as well just do the nicer paver.
Yeah, why?
Definitely.
I
Yeah,
kind of
I'd
agree
say
with you. Like,
because the paver you're gonna be looking at it all the time. Like, let's save a little money on the lights because lights you don't even see, you know?
yeah, that's true. You shouldn't see the lights. You should see the result of the lights, but
Yeah.
the fixtures themselves. And then from a business standpoint, does the use of premium materials impact your bottom line?
No, it helps it.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it impacts. Yeah,
Yeah,
yes, the impact. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
so is that because you mark up your materials or do you only mark up your labor hours?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the better the higher price the product, the more margin there is for you.
More premium. Yeah, premium.
Is that something you always recognize right from the beginning or is that something
Yeah.
yeah?
Well, you could feel in the finish, like when you walk on Teco block paver versus like a Belgard paver, you can feel it in the finish, and it's to the touch. The Belgard is very coarse. Teco block's super smooth.
So that helps you sell
Yeah,
the projects and
especially when they go look at it in person. When they look at it in person, they're like, oh wow.
There are some customers though that they just don't really see the difference. Like they might see a gray paver from Techo Block, or they might see a gray paver from Belgard, and they're like, they're both gray. Like, what's the difference? And it takes a little bit more work to explain to them. But with those types of customers, chances are they just want function over the aesthetic,
yeah.
and it's a little bit tougher.
Well, but that's a fair point too.
Totally.
Is if what are the priorities? If it's a functional
Yeah.
thing, well then yeah, you're gonna make different decisions
Absolutely.
about everything from the pavers to the lights to the turf that you're gonna put in, the plants, everything. And if it's an aesthetic thing, well, you're gonna gravitate more towards the premium stuff.
Yeah. I mean, most people don't want to be on the front cover of like Landscaping magazine. They want a place for their family to hang out.
Are the best design projects that you sell the most profitable or the most show stopping?
The best design projects are
Like the sickest jobs you build,
yeah,
are they putting the most money in the bank account or are they the best marketing tool you have?
best marketing tool. Best marketing tool. There's a lot of, especially when you start doing these jobs that are very high end and fancy, there's a lot of mistakes made along the way, and it takes quite a bit of time to figure all those things out so you don't make a mistake on the next job. But the way his designing expertise is growing, so like they're always adding different stuff. And I'm like, oh, I got to learn this thing now. So eventually it'll be very profitable, but
There's a learning curve for the crew as you add complexity to
very
design.
much, very much.
In the beginning, when I first started working with Tigran, he told me he could do anything.
Yeah,
He build anything. He was trying to convince me to come up here with him, and I was like, "Well, can you do this?" He's like, "Sure, sure." And so when I first came up here to the Bay Area, I was designing these extravagant, big, huge things, and he delivered. But you're right, there's a learning curve, and I got to watch the whole way through. And like Applewood is growing so much as a result.
All right, so let's wrap up with some advice real quick. Tigran, what would you say to business owners who are not using designer or integrating design as an actual part of their process?
Yeah, so it seems like not having a designer would be very difficult, especially when you don't have access to anyone. But all you have to do is just start reaching out to people. Once you start reaching out, you'll see maybe there's a guy in your local town that just wants to do design, but he doesn't have any customers. You can provide, and then maybe you guys can come up with some kind of partnership. Not go like partner, but like some kind of mutual agreement on, hey, I'll give you leads, but you have to give them back, bro. You got to give them back. It's hard to get a lead for a customer.
Mm-hmm.
And once I spent all the money getting a lead, give it to Johnny, and then Johnny's like, "Oh yeah, thanks. I'm gonna refer it to my uncle,"
Yeah.
and I'm toast.
So on that point, though, your initial reach out to Taylor,
Yep.
like if we just tell that story real quick, like
Yeah.
what led to that? And because you were saying like you're fairly new in the industry, you've built up a lot of experience. But like, what led to you finding him and saying like, okay, I'm going to go with this guy?
Well, I met him, and I spent like I don't know, I think a day with Taylor, and I was like, "This kid's nuts." I'm like, he just do whatever it takes to win, and I was like, "Dude, you should come here." And he was like, "No, I have other job offers. I have one in Colorado. I have one in Arizona." He's like, "I'm very busy." I'm like, "Just come here for a day. Just hang out with me for one day. I'll get a bunch of clients and we'll go. I'll go there with you." I'm like, "I'll pay for your plane ticket. No harm will be done. You're just going to go, see if it doesn't work out, it's okay." And I just booked that first day very full. I think I booked like 8 customers the first day, another 6 the next day. And we just kept going. At the end of the day, I was like, bro, I'm so tired.
I thought I was coming to get like dinner with him. I
Yep.
thought we're gonna like talk about what this is gonna look like. He picked me up at the airport. He's like, "We're going to our first job," and it was just one after another. And he showed me that there's so much business, and he's capable of filling that calendar for me. So
That's good. And Taylor, what's one thing aside from not telling you I can build anything? What's one thing that a contractor can do to really enhance the relationship with a designer, whether it's in-house or freelance or whatever the relationship? How can a builder work best with a designer so that you're on the same page?
yeah, no, that's a great point. Whether it's freelance or in-house, because I think that relationship that you have between a designer and a contractor is super important, especially in the design phase, because I need to know what he's charging for things to fit that within a certain budget. I need to know what he's capable of it and how he works. I need him to look at my designs and my plan and say, we can do this, but we can't do that. And so really building that relationship to know how each other works is going to determine how smooth the build goes, how smooth the design goes, especially for freelancers. If you're a freelancer, you can't just like design something and say, just toss it over to, Bob at whatever landscaping.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know that they can actually execute on this and that it's within the budget of the customer that you discussed.
So building portfolio, showing that stuff,
Absolutely.
actually meeting, talking face to face, going to see how you build stuff like that. That'll help build the confidence on both sides.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add before we cut to questions?
No, that's it.
No? All right. Well, let's jump to some questions. You guys got some questions? Could be about design. Could be about the business.
great.
Yeah.
Got a
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yell it out and I'll repeat it.
Hey, what? So the payroll, how earlier price? Hey,
Yes.
So-
So we get
Want to repeat the
he
question?
said he said, "Does Taylor meet the clients when the leads comes in?" Yeah. So if a customer calls, the girls will answer, and then they'll qualify. They'll say, "Okay, what are you looking to have done?" And then if they are a good fit, they'll send Taylor out. All right, they'll give you the number. You call them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
they
what
first qualify to set expectations, to let them know the designs usually cost this much.
$1 million.
Yeah, $1 million, and our projects usually cost this much. Then it goes over to me, and I will schedule a day to go meet with them. Um, yeah, I'll go meet with them in person. We have a consultation fee just to make sure they're serious. Because if they're not willing to, pay $50 or $100 for my time to go out there, they're probably not serious in spending maybe 100 or 200K on their project. So
That $100 consultation fee has really changed the game for you, especially.
completely.
Yeah.
I will say though, I'm a big believer in charging a consult fee if you are booked out and you're getting lots of volume of calls. If you're somebody, or it's a slow season, or there's a recession or something, just go meet with them, meet faces. So I'll constantly adjust that consult fee. At one point during like 2021, when everybody's business was blowing up, the consult fee was like almost $200.
Yeah.
Something like that. And as things slowed down, I tapered it back down to 125. And sometimes in the winter, I'll just go out there because it'll only be a few appointments for the month.
$20.
Like, but I think it's still important that you make it clear what that fee is.
Yeah.
Like normally I would charge $100 or $200 consultation fee, but you know what? I'm really excited about meeting you and learning more about this project. I'm going to waive the fee for you this time.
Wow, that's a good point.
You've established a value for it, and now you're already doing them a favor. So like, oh, you know what? I really like this guy. Like, you just moved up in their ranks a little bit.
I never even thought about that. That's
Never give it away for free. Even if you are giving it away for free, don't let it be perceived as free.
interesting.
Game changer. That's a good one.
That's great advice.
Or like anxiety or to new parent for like fun for a small. I some people have a minimum of like 20 grand, 30 grand.
So do you have a project minimum value? Basically, you won't get out of bed for less than X.
Yeah, so like in the wintertime, I'll do whatever. And so I'll go. That's fine. But in the summertime when we're busy, yeah, about 20. But let's say a customer calls and they have a driveway that's like 10 grand and it's just a driveway, I'll do it. Driveways are easy. I love driveways. If I could be known as a driveway king, I would love that.
Easy access.
Yeah.
In and out,
Just
bang.
driveways. That's it.
Well, do it. Just market them. Why aren't you designing more driveways?
I would love to.
We do. But then people are like,
Design side too.
oh, I want something in my backyard.
Yeah.
I'm like, ah.
Okay.
I really love he said that on my big video for was said building. What do you do?
Oh, that's a good one.
So how do you handle a client who has terrible ideas and they're asking you to design around those terrible ideas? How do you walk them away from that to something good?
No, that's a great question. And it happens sometimes. And there are a lot of different customers. Some of them are more open-minded. And I try to end up working with people by qualifying in the beginning that will be open to those ideas. But every once in a while, you get somebody who just tries to give you instructions on like what to do or like how to design or like,
Take the order, man.
I want this here, and you turn into an order taker. And I just think, if you're gonna do that, why'd you hire me? Like, why don't you just do the design yourself? No, absolutely not. I wouldn't say that. No,
He wants to know what do you say?
in the beginning, I show some resistance, and I'll try to let them know why I think this may not be a good idea or what may be a better idea. If they keep giving me resistance over and over, I have other clients that I need to be respectful towards and their time. So at a certain point, I'll just turn into an order taker and I'll pump out the design like a machine, and I'll give it to them and I'll shake their hand and I'll say goodbye, or they'll go and build it. But I do my best to convince them otherwise if I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Budget.
They don't want to talk about budget. How do you approach it?
Yeah, that's another good question. And as a designer on the design side, you have to have some kind of budget. It doesn't have to be specific. I don't need to know if you're $112,516. I just need to know if 300K is too much for you or generally what it is. And that kind of happens in the first meeting with them, the first phone call. And like I said earlier, I don't know if you're here, but I was saying I try to start like on a pendulum, so on a scale. So I ask them, are you more in the like 10 to 50K range, or are you more in the like 100 to 300K range? And right away, they'll kind of narrow down who they are because they'll answer that question. And then the rest of it is just figuring out what they want and if it's realistic to fit within that range. So if they're in the 10 to 50K range and they want an outdoor kitchen, a pergola, a paver patio, and turf, probably not going to work. And I'll do my best to explain that to them.
Another thing that I've seen a lot of people do with success is they'll actually put pricing on their website. Like they'll have rooms or zones or areas of the backyard, like a fire pit area with a bench. Well, that's minimum 20. You have a picture of a pool with a little pool deck. Well, that's minimum 120. So they already know, and you're kind of weeding out the tire kickers before, like, you don't even need to talk to them. If they don't have that kind of money, they're not going to call you.
That's a great
You might
point.
be scared of that at first, but that's why it's important you have a good website, you have a good marketing plan, you have good social media presence, so you have enough traffic coming in that it's filtering out the bad stuff, but there's enough good stuff left over that you just could talk to them.
No, I try to, and at one point I tried to like systemize it where it's like if you're over a certain size, this is how much it is, and flat price it. But I do it very custom, and because I have some experience now, I generally know how much it's going to cost or how much time it's going to take
Many
me
hours, yeah.
from like an hour perspective, and I'll like jot down like, okay, the 3D render is going to take like 6 hours. The plan's going to take. I have to meet with them. I have to drive to their house, and so I'll give them custom pricing based on that.
Okay, we'll take one last question, then we'll wrap this up. Yes, you, sir.
To pay for that startup to speak, how did you implement like marketing and stuff like that too?
Yeah, so he said, when I first got a designer, how did I implement a charge or a fee so I can recoup that? People used to call me all the time anyway. They're like, "Oh, we want this done." And people call you all the time, right? They call you, "Oh, we want this done, we want this one, we want pavers in the back, we want this." And I would run them on a list. I would say, "What else are you having done? What else are you having done? What else?" And they would tell me all these things. And if it was very simple, if they want like a driveway, a little patio in the back, a little patch of grass. But if they tell me they need a retaining wall, plants, drip, irrigation, they want a little trampoline, they want pavers, they want concrete, there's too much stuff. I'm like, based off of everything you told me, we really need a design because it'll give us a clear understanding of what you want and what I'm doing. So that, like, giving him designs, it didn't really cost me any more money. Calls were still coming in. But now I can traffic the designs to him and I won't lose the lead. Because I used to lose the leads all the time. Like, I'd say 50% of the time, guaranteed 50%, probably more, probably 75, the customer would not return to me after I refer him to a designer.
When I flew up here the first time, when he was trying to convince me to work together, as we're driving to different places, he was taking calls while he was driving. I'm in the passenger seat, and to every single person that called, regardless of what they wanted, he would say, "You need a design, or you should get a design." So he started pitching that, and he filled up the calendar so fast just by pitching that to every single person that you talked to, and he would tell them, it's just like building a house. You need a design for landscaping, especially if there's more than a few moving parts. And everybody would be like, "Oh, you're right. We do need a design. Okay, how much does it cost?" And he filled it up really quickly.
You're helping them understand why it's important to them.
The value of it.
And then they understand the value, then they're willing to pay for it.
Exactly.
Awesome stuff, guys. Guys, we're going to wrap this up right now. Thank you very much for attending this episode of the podcast. Pete and Rick will be back on stage here in a few minutes. Tigran, Taylor, thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate your time. Take care, everyone. You've been listening to Hardscape Growth, a podcast for hungry professionals who want to grow their businesses and level up. Each episode is all about taking the next step in running your business, so make sure you never miss a show by subscribing on your favorite podcast player. And if you're finding this information to be useful, help others in your position discover us by giving us a star rating and leaving a comment. We'll see you next week.